Namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Om namo bhagavate vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 24, Text 29. Okay, 29. Saeva bhagavān adya helanaṁ na gaṇayya gṛheṣu jāto grāmyāṇām svānāṁ pakṣa-poṣaṇaḥ. Saeva bhagavān adya helanaṁ na gaṇayya gṛheṣu jāto grāmyāṇām svānāṁ pakṣa-poṣaṇaḥ. Saeva bhagavān adya helanaṁ na gaṇayya gṛheṣu jāto grāmyāṇām svānām pakṣa-poṣaṇaḥ. Saeva bhagavān adya helanaṁ na gaṇayya gṛheṣu jāto grāmyāṇām pakṣa-poṣaṇaḥ. Saeva bhagavān adya helanaṁ na gaṇayya gṛheṣu grāmyāṇām svānām pakṣa-poṣaṇaḥ. Saeva bhagavān adya helanaṁ na gaṇayya gṛheṣu jāto grāmyāṇām svānām pakṣa-poṣaṇaḥ. Vaishnavis. Saeva bhagavān adya helanaṁ na gaṇayya gṛheṣu jāto grāmyāṇām svānām pakṣa-poṣaṇaḥ. Saeva bhagavān adya helanaṁ na gaṇayya gṛheṣu jāto grāmyāṇām svānām pakṣa-poṣaṇaḥ. Saha eva, that very same bhagavān, Supreme Personality of Godhead, adya, today, helanam, negligence, not, gaṇayya, considering high and low, naha, or gṛheṣu, in the houses, jātaḥ, appeared, grāmyāṇām, of ordinary householders, jātaḥ, he who, svānāṁ, of his own devotees, pakṣa-poṣaṇaḥ, who supports the party. Translation on purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Translation: not considering the negligence of ordinary householders like us, that very same Supreme Personality of Godhead appears in our homes just to support His devotees. Purport: Devotees are so affectionate toward the personality of Godhead that although he does not appear before those who practice yoga in a secluded place, even for many, many births, he agrees to appear in the householder's home where devotees engage in devotional service without material yoga practice. In other words, devotional service to the Lord is so easy that even a householder can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead as one of the members of his household, as his son, as Kardama Muni experienced. He was a householder, although a yogi, but he had an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kapila Muni, as his son. Devotional service is such a powerful transcendental method that it surpasses all other methods of transcendental realization. The Lord says, therefore, that he lives neither in Vaikuntha nor in the heart of a yogi, but he lives where his pure devotees are always chanting and glorifying him. Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Bhakta Vatsal. He is never described as Jnani Vatsala or Yogi Vatsala. He is always described as Bhakta Vatsala because he is more inclined toward his devotees than toward other transcendentalists. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed that only a devotee that can understand him as he is. Bhaktya mang abhyanati. One can understand me only by devotional service, not otherwise. That understanding alone is real because although jnanis, mental speculators, can realize only the effulgence or the bodily luster of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and yogis can realize only the partial representation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, a bhakta not only realizes him as he is, but also associates with the personality of Godhead face to face. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyanangana Shalakaya Shakshurum Militam Gena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kalamahyam Dadati Swan Padam Tika He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinavamdo Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishavanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vasamyaham Jatrayano Vimudo Mugdai Mathai Lokani Haiva Duke Kripa Maye Tvat Karunena Radhe Sandarsayisyami Anaya Tattvam Saeva bhagavān adya helanaṁ na gaṇayya gṛheṣu jāto grāmyāṇāṁ svānāṁ pakṣa-poṣaṇaḥ. Not considering the negligence of ordinary householders like us, that very Supreme Personality of Godhead appears in our homes just to support his devotees. So, this is, as Ganganath Prabhu was saying yesterday, 3 verses were connected. The first one was talking about demigod worship, and the second one about the process of yoga, and this one, Anjanis. And this one is a glorification of the process of bhakti, how the process of bhakti is superior to any other process, as Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, that the Supreme Lord, He is the goal of any spiritual realization. Sometimes when people come to spiritual, or most of the time, when people come to spiritual practices or spiritual path, they don't know that the ultimate goal is to attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to attain a spiritual world. They think generally that the spiritual world is like, or having a spiritual realization means like, I don't know, like you're floating in some ocean of voidism, or you do your own thing and you feel happy, you laugh, you embrace trees, or you feel love for the ants. So they think that these are like the ultimate goal spiritual realization, but actually, Vedic literature goes beyond that. It says that the spiritual world is a place where so many living entities are living, and there is a supreme living entity, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. And to attain his favor, his association, his mercy, is the ultimate. Ultimately, to attain love for him is the ultimate goal of life, at least for a human being. So, and there is a process for that, and that process is called devotional service or bhakti yoga. And as Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita, and Prabhupada quote this verse, "Bhaktyā maṁ avijanati," that the only way that people can understand me is through the process of bhakti. Not simple bhakti, but unalloyed bhakti, pure devotional service, not like mixed with any other processes. And I was just thinking I should speak about maybe the differences between the past and stuff like that. But when I was in the kirtan, I was just remembering Sudama. And I thought, wow, the best way to glorify the process of bhakti is to speak a little bit about those who are bhaktas, or those who obtain pure devotional service, those who attain the goal of human life. And I was just remembering a little bit of his past with the Supreme Lord, and how he was a very poor personality, a very poor Brahmana. Indeed, Sukadeva Goswami, when he comes to this section, he describes Sudama in a very beautiful way. He say, Krishna syasi sakaka shit brahmano brahmavittama virakta indriyartesu prasanktatma jitendriyaha. He said that, this Sudama, he was not an ordinary personality. He was a great Brahmana. He was very learned in Vedic knowledge, brahmavittamaha. And Krishnasya sakaka shit. Krishna considered him to be his friend. So one thing is to say, there is a great personality in the world. I don't know who's a great personality nowadays in Kali Yuga, but let's say somebody who's famous, like a president or something like that. Let's say the president of America. One thing is if I say, he's my friend, but if that big personality considers me to be his friend, there's something else. That means that you're not an ordinary person. So this was the case of Sudama, that Krishna Krishna considered him to be his friend. And he was completely detached from sense objects, and therefore he was jitendriya. He was and prasadatma. He was always very joyful, and he controlled his senses. So he was not an ordinary person, but he was a very poor Brahmin. He didn't have any wealth, material wealth. Remembering His Holiness Gaur Govinda Maharaj was saying that his sons, his children were crying, "Roti, roti, roti, I want some puri, because they didn't have even food. He was completely absorbed in remembering his dear friend Krishna. So much so that his wife, Sushila, came to him and he said, "Hey, listen, you have to go and approach him. I heard that, Dwarkadish is your friend, so you should go. He's right there in Los Angeles. Go there and approach him and ask him for some wealth, something, because we are very poor." But Sudama, being a pure devotee never asks anything to the Lord. So he said, "How can I go and ask him for some, money or food or whatever?" Actually, in Shastra, in the Vedic literature, it says that nobody should go to a temple of God, to one's friend's house, or to the palace of the kingdom without offering something. So, and I don't have anything, how can I go there? And for me, he's three of them. He's my friend, he's God, and he's the king. So how can I go with empty hands to approach him? So then his wife say, "Yeah, but I heard also in the Shastra says that having darshan of the Supreme, ayohi paramo labha uttama shloka darshanam, that having the darshan of seeing the personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal of life." Then Sudama say, "Oh, now we have something." So she went out and he baked some broken rice for him to take him to Krishna. And Sudama was walking and approaching. He approached the palace of the Lord, and when he came to the door, there was a guard, because he was a king. So outside the palace there are guards. So the first guard asked him, so who you are? Who are you? And he said, I'm Krishna's friend. And he started laughing. He said, how can you be Krishna's friend? Are you crazy? You're a beggar. You know, Dwarkadish is a king. You know, it's impossible. How can you be Krishna's friend? So he started like cutting jokes, and he called so many other guards as they were all laughing. And Sudama was, yeah, really, we went to school together. We're really friends. We love each other like anything. And I say, listen, you know, you should leave. Otherwise, we'll kill you right here because you're talking a lot of nonsense. And Sudama say, well, you can kill me. And at least when Krishna comes out and he sees my body, he will realize that my friend came to see him. And that would be the perfection of my life. So at this point, the guards, they got serious. And he said, okay, well, it must be some friendship going on there. So they went inside the palace, and Bhagavatam described that at this point, they were putting a crown of Krishna's head. And when Krishna heard that Sudama was outside, he immediately ran. You know, his uttariya fell, and he didn't have slippers on his shoes, and he just ran. And when he saw Sudama, they embraced each other like so tightly. And so Krishna thought that, okay, you know, Sudama is so weak that if I embrace him so strong, I may hurt him. And same, Sudama thought this similar. He said, my body is so skinny, and my bones are like so, you know, like coming out of my skin that I may hurt Krishna. So they let go of each other together. And then Krishna took him inside his palace. And then at this point, everyone was like freaking out because, you know, our Lord is bringing a beggar into the house, into the assembly. How can that be possible? You know, we're all like Kshatriyas and like very like respectable personalities. And not only that, he sat Sudama on the throne. And then there was no need of, you know, water arrangement for, you know, washing his feet, because Bhagavatam describes that at that time Ganga and Yamuna, they were manifesting the eyes of the Lord in the form of tears, and they were washing the feet of the Lord. So this is the position that a yogi cannot attain. You know, Prabhupada quote this verse, Naham vasami vaikunte yoginam hridaya suva. He quotes this here. Tatra tishtami narada maggachanti vasa yatra gacchanti mad bhakta. That, you know, I don't live in Vaikuntha. There's a lot of awe and reverence. Of course, he's there. He's also in the heart of a yogi. But he doesn't really relish that as much as he relishes the exchange of love, deep love, that, you know, he experienced with his devotees like Sudama. And that's a position that the karmi, somebody who's like trying to elevate himself, like studying the Vedas and like what's that? Trividyaman Putapa, Trividyaman Soma Paf Puta Papa, trying to elevate himself to the heavenly planetary systems and drink Soma juice, and then like, you know, Asnanti Divyam Divideva Bhogan, enjoying all the pleasures and delights of the gods and the demigods and Indra. And then, you know, Kshina Punya Martyalogan Vishanti, once you exhaust or when you like finish all your pious credit, then you have to come down. So Prabhupada sometimes he used to say that karma means foolish, because gata gatam kama kama ladbate, what is the previous, Archita Prabhu, the previous line, in the Kshina Punya Martyalogan Vishanti, Edam Dharman, Anuprapana, something like that, that they say they follow the rules and regulations of going up and down. And therefore, gata gatam kama kama ladbate. They only obtain gata agata. Gata agata means birth and death. That's the only thing they get. So, and the yogis, they also, although they engage in meditation and austerity, and they realize partially the Supreme Lord, as Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, they can never get the position of being loved by the Lord. That's superior position of spiritual perfection. So this is what, this is why bhakti is so supreme than other processes, because you can actually, even if you, like in the verse, it says that helanam, the word helanam is used. Helanam means negligence. Even if there is some mistakes. Sometimes Prabhupada say, well, yeah, some devotees will come and ask, hey, Srila Prabhupada, you know, my eye is very strong. Sometimes, you know, I feel like I'm like falling down or this and that. And Prabhupada say, it's not like sometimes you fall down. You're already fallen. There is no question of that. Sometimes I'm always Krishna conscious, and then sometimes I fall into Maya. No, you are always in Maya. Sometimes you fall into Krishna consciousness. So, because we're always in Maya, and our knowledge is very basic, very low, we cannot approach, or we cannot offer perfect devotional service. But even if a devotee, with good intention, he tries to perform bhakti is so powerful that he can attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Many great sages that have been undergoing tapasya, austerity, for thousands of years, but they haven't seen the Lord. Vishwamitra Muni, he was a great yogi. He went to the forest to undergo severe penance, but the only thing he saw was a Menaka. He saw a Mata passing by, and he got distracted and finished, And I remember a few years ago, I'm not going to mention his temple, but I was living in a temple, and there was this bogus rascal person I used to come, and then he said that, that there was no need of chanting the holy name, that you could do this or that, whatever. And he was living in a cave in Sedona, and his meditation was more powerful because he learned from Ram Das and this and another bogus rascal person. So he came to the temple and he was talking a lot of nonsense. And then, about that, and how he was living in a cave and he was controlling the senses and this and that. And he came down once in a month just to see his mom, or stuff like that. And then again he would go back to the cave in Sedona. But then one of the Sundays that he came to the feast at the temple, he saw a new bhakti, and that was it. No more cave. You see, he was done. And one day I was with another devotee. I have a witness of it. So we saw him kissing that lady outside the temple. So that was it. That was his supreme, control of the senses. So the jnani, or, the devotee, Maya is very powerful. There is no question of, I always remember this verse because Abhimanyu Sutta Prabhu from Atlanta and we always relish this verse. When Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Maya is very powerful, what was that? Huh? Daivi hiesha guna maya mama maya duratyaya. So Abhimanyu Prabhu and I, we're always joking about that, how Maya is very powerful and how fallen we are. And that makes me remember a song that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Hariye prapanche poriya agati hoya nadeki upayar agati sharane sharanam tomara korino sahar. Oh Lord Hari, I am very fallen in this prapancha, material world made of 5 elements, and always drowning. I'm suffering and lamenting. I don't know what. Agatira means one who has no destination. So I don't have no destination. I don't know what to do, where to go. What is the purpose of my life? Agati. But you are Gati. Gati means destination. You are Gati. You are the destination. Agati. Sharane sharanam. Tomara korino sahar. Now, realizing that you are that supreme destination, then I'll take shelter of your lotus feet. Agati, sharane, sharanam, tomara korino sahar. And then further he says, Karama geyana kichuna himora, sadhana bayana nai. Amito kangal tumi kripa moy, ahai tuki kripa chai. I am such a rascal, I don't have any knowledge, no background of pious activities. Only a sad karma, only sinful activities, so many sinful activities, life after life after life after life. So I'm not a pious person, I'm a rascal. I have no sadhana, no bhajan, no, any spiritual practices. But I heard that your causeless mercy is, you can bestow your causeless mercy upon anyone. So please, show that mercy on me. So yeah, this is how Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that a pure devotee thinks about it. He doesn't think that, okay, I'm just going to control my senses. Like in the next, verse of the song, he says Bhakya mano vega, krodha jiva vega, udara upashta vega, milita sava samsara vasaye, Ditesha Paramaudvega. The urges of the senses are there. The senses are pulling me. The eyes want to see like, oh, nice Matai or nice, handsome boy. And the tongue wants to speak so many things, bunch of rubbish and nonsense, and wants to enjoy palatable foods. And the genitals always dragging me this way, that way, like sex here and sex there, and all these things. And always, ditesha paramaudvega, I'm always putting such anxiety. So this is the position of a living entity who has a material body. So one should not be like puffed up thinking that if I do something else, like Ganganath Prabhu was explaining yesterday very nicely, that nowadays, unfortunately, in our movement, there are so many ways of attaining Krishna. Prabhupada came and he gave one way. You chant the holy name, you follow the 4 regs, you daily read bhagavān, you take shelter of a spiritual master, you do this, you do that, and that's it. And then you get, I promise you, many times Prabhupada said, isn't it, Archita Prabhu, Juta Karma Prabhu? Many times he said that, I promise you, if you follow this, you'll get the result. But nowadays we have so many ways. We have like we were reading yesterday, like there's a numerology, and there is a crystal, and there is this, you do this, and then there's vegetarianism and feminism and this and that. And our understanding of the Siddhanta becomes contaminated by those things. Therefore, sometimes when we see, and this is very sad actually, I'm sorry to speak about these things, but this is something that have to be brought up. Because sometimes we see a very serious practitioner, like somebody who's like trying to follow the process and spending thousands of millions of spiritual blood, gallons of spiritual blood to preach and to bring people to Krishna consciousness. And because of our understanding is contaminated by all these things and our mentality is quite offensive, we think, oh, this Prabhu or this Mother, they're fanatic. This is like fanatical people. But then somebody comes, like big beard, and he wears his dhoti like a sannyasi, and he has a big bit, bag, and then he's like long hair, and then he comes once in a while to the temple, like only on festivals, and he sings the kirtan very nice. He's always around with females and doing all these different things. We say, oh, here is a really great devotee. He has a lot of love for Krishna because he dresses like this and he speaks always the characteristic of these devotees or these people, they always carry also some esoteric book, like from, some acharya or whatever it is. And I remember you were there, I think so, when Ganganath Prabhu was telling us in Atlanta, he was feeling sad about one of his god brothers that he kind of offended, he offended Prabhupada saying that his process was not the highest, and then he took shelter on somebody else in Vrindavan. And then he was such an old person when Ganganath Prabhu saw him, and he was living in an ashram with so many young ladies, and he was doing his rasa dance. And Ganganath was very pained. He was pained to see that. So that happens a lot because, we don't really try to understand Prabhupada's books and the teachings of the acharyas. We think sometimes also that the process of chanting the holy name or hearing Bhagavatam is, this is for like Prabhupada many times says that Mayavad is a thing that bhakti is for fools and women. We are like sannyasis. Even in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, Prakashananda Saraswati, Sarvabhauma, Bhattacharya, all the Mayavadis, they will say, why are you just dancing like a madman and just like going around with a bunch of people, like shave head and, doing this Hare Krishna mantra? Why don't you sit down and, and meditate and study Vedanta and do all those things? This is the duty of the sannyasi. A sannyasi shouldn't be like chanting or doing some kind of kirtan or whatever. But they fail to understand. And as Bhakti Vikas Maharaj said, they were so foolish, he said that on last Monday, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have to show him the light. Because that's what they want to see, some light. I'm like right now in our preachings in Cuba, some people are like, by Krishna's grace, are taking up to the chanting of the holy name. But then now this like rascal came, and then he considered himself the godfather of yoga in Cuba, because he's the first one who introduced the yoga back in the 80s or whatever, I don't know. So he's an old man, and then he's now telling people, that there is no need to chant the holy name. This is very common in Mayavadis, that everyone is God, and then you sit down, once you come back from your job, you sit down at home, and then if you meditate for 10, 15 minutes, then you can understand that you're God. Then the next morning, and again, you have to go out and work, So what kind of God is that, that he has to go out and work so hard to maintain himself. So this rascal is saying these things, and I feel so like this is one of the reasons why I don't sleep at night, because it causes me a lot of what's the word? Not anxiety. There's another word for that, but I just forgot. Anyhow, so yeah, I feel so bad because I'm here and he's there, but anyway, so I'll go to Cuba one day. So and then I hope Archita Prabhu brings his camera, so that he can take a picture of me kicking his face. Because Prabhupada said that, it's bona fide. Prabhupada said that if we see a rascal in Mayavadi like that, we should kick in his face. Because he's doing disservice to the humanity, teaching this kind of bogus thing. So that's why we should really try to understand the process of Bhakti Yoga. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the most munificent avatar, he simplified the process for us, so that we can attain the higher love for God, this is the perfection of life, and this will solve all the problems of one life. I remember Mahotsav Prabhu, he used to tell me all the time when I was like new in Atlanta, he said, hey, this book distribution or this propagation of the Sankirtan mission will solve your money problems, your clothes problem, your family problems, even your chapati problems. He was telling me like that. So all the problems are solved by practicing Bhakti Yoga. So one should not like concoct new things of practicing Bhakti Yoga. Just read Prabhupada's books. Everything is there. Everything from the very beginning. You start reading even a small book. I was so surprised to see that like many people are really attracted by this like tiny book of karma. In Cuba, they really read that book. And they find it amazing, so much so that I started reading it, because I said, wow, there's so much nectar in here. And I remember how like Bhakti Vikas Swami Maharaj used to encourage us in Atlanta a few years ago that we should distribute, especially Coming Back, because it's a very powerful book. So all the philosophy is very nicely explained. We don't have to concoct. We don't have to become like crystals or this or that, because you would never get any love for the Lord. You see, when Uddhava came to Vrindavan, he was more knowledgeable than anyone else. Sakshat Brihaspate Sisyo, Vrishnanam Pravaro Mantri. He was the chief minister of all the Vrishnis. So he was not an ordinary person. And Sakshat Brihaspate Sisyo, he was a direct disciple of Brihaspati, who is the spiritual master of all the demigods. And when Uddhava came to Vrindavan, he approached Nanda Maharaj, and Nanda Maharaj told him that he was crying because of Krishna had left, and Uddhava said, but why are you crying? Don't you know that Krishna is like, he's all pervading, he's here, there, he's in the heart. And say, he's Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And I said, what nonsense are you talking about, Uddhava? You're saying that my boy is Narayana, but Narayana is Satya, he's truthful. My boy is always speaking a lot of lies. He's always talking lies. And then he's Santa, the Supreme Lord Narayana, he's Santa, very peaceful. Krishna is always restless. So this higher love of the Vatsalya, Prem, it was completely beyond their understanding of the knowledge that Uddhava has. So that's why Krishna sent him to Vrindavan, so that he can understand that there is the love, just like Prabhupada writes in the Krishna book, love is the last word in transcendence. So unless one experiences that love that the gopis also, when he approached the gopis and he saw Radharani like on the bank of the Yamuna, and she was like, she wasn't eating anything, and she was laying down, and she wrote Krishna's name all over her body, and he wanted to leave her body because of separation. This is something that's completely beyond our understanding, but that is the ultimate goal for a human being, to develop social love. Not like some ordinary love, like, okay, Lord, I love you, I bow down, give me $1,000. This is not real love. This, we don't have in Spanish or even in English, like, grades or different levels of explaining love. But in Turkish, there is, for example, there is a word aşk, which is like a kind of general love. You love the friends, you love the mother, you love your husband or wife. But then there is a deep love, like it's called sevgi. They say sevgi or 75 euro. They say I love you, but this is like more intimate. When you say to your husband or wife, I love you, it's like intimate. But there is another love. It's called kara sedva in Turkish. And kara sedva means is like kind of painful, but at the same time blissful and endless love. So this is the kind of love that we want to experience with the Lord. We don't want to be like some yogī sitting there for so many thousands of years doing a bunch of nonsense, or a karmi going up and down, or some even a neophyte bhakta. Because if we remain as neophyte bhaktas, we commit the risk of also, being contaminated by all this bogus philosophy, and eventually jeopardize our path of devotional service. So I will end the class right here. If there is comments or whatever, questions, chastisements. Okay, nothing. Okay, good. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.